Hello, everyone. Hope you are doing great. And let's start with first story titled, I Can't Forgive My Sister After She Refused to Help Me When I Was About to Become Homeless. My sister, from a young age, has had only one person to rely on, and that person was me. We come from a broken family, with one parent that was only around till I was 5, and the other who was stuck in a cycle of addiction. Because of our situation, I grew up very quickly and shielded her from as much as I could. She obviously was aware of what was going on, but she was not in the crosshair. I started with stealing from our mother to make sure we had food and bills were paid. I got a part-time job at 13 because we couldn't rely on our mother. And when I graduated, I immediately got 2 jobs and we moved out. I had to push my sister through high school. She wasn't an easy teen for obvious reasons. On top of going month to month trying to get as much money together to pay our bills, at 19 she finally graduated. After being held back a year, she changed her tune a lot and she started working as well and had her own place when she was 21. I finally got a shot to do something for myself and got a degree. As a result, I got a much better job, but unfortunately, that was right before the pandemic hit. So I pretty much went from hired to fired as I was a new hire. Now, the reason I am saying all that is not to pat myself on the back, but to stress why my reaction is the way it is. I was out of work, on the brink of losing my apartment, and only had one person who I expected I could turn to, my sister. She was recently married and still lives obviously with her husband, so I asked if I could stay a few weeks, at most a few months, until I got a new job. It was a no. I was taken aback, but it remained to be a no. A week or two later, I was kicked out of my apartment. I asked again, and it was a no. At this point, I am homeless, and the only reason I didn't end up sleeping on the damn street was because I could crash at a few friends until I got a temporary job. I rented a room with a bunch of roommates for a while, eventually got a job in my field again, and am now doing fine. That said, I have not spoken to my sister since. She has called, messaged, banged on my door, sent crying voice messages, apologized dozens of times, tried to explain herself, tried going to my job, tried going to friends, everything. I haven't said a word to her. It's been over a year now. She recently had a child and she is still desperately trying to reach out. She claims her husband refused to let me stay. He even reached out several times to beg me to reach out. But to me, the one time I need her, she basically tells me to F myself. I feel like it was the last push I needed to just end that chapter of my life. I feel bad, but just not bad enough, I guess. Even my friends and my girlfriend are on my case that I should forgive her and that they understood it at first, but now think I am being an a-hole. What would you guys do? And the update. Let me start by apologizing to the people who commented on my post. First, to answer a couple of questions that I was unable to answer, along with addressing some incorrect comments in the previous post, yet I saw asked quite a few times. 1. The first few no's were without reasonable explanation. I was not aware of her given reason that her husband was not okay with it until later. 2. She did not know she was pregnant when she declined, and most of it happened before she would have even been pregnant in the first place. I mean, most of this took place over a year ago. I even put that in the post, so I am not sure how that math would even work. 3. I am not an anti-vaxxer or dirty or something. There were quite a few comments that theorized this would be the case for her refusal. I got my 2 vaccination shots the moment I could them, and well, while my personal hygiene is not exactly anyone's business, I shower once a day and my apartment is spotless. 4. A lot of advice and comments seem to be from the perspective of functional families with a functional family structure. That is not the case here. The primary reason I am so gutted about this entire situation is exactly that. This isn't a case of, well, I don't want my cousin to stay in my house, he can stay somewhere else. This is a case of me having sacrificed my entire youth and a significant portion of my early adult life for someone that I played no part in creating or have any parental responsibility for, and the first and only time I ever asked her to do something for me as the only person I could reasonable fall back on, and her not doing that. That's more than a familial spat, that is a straight-up betrayal. That's also an answer to the people saying that she owes me nothing because I chose to be a parent. Anyway, with that out of the way, I decided to follow some advice given by several people. I told my girlfriend and the friends who involved themselves or were involved by my sister to back off or to lose my number. They do not understand my perspective and they likely never will. And I need to get that through my head, as I have a tendency to talk about my life as if it is a standard, but it is a standard only to me. Luckily, most people don't go through any of that. I obviously had a longer and face-to-face conversation with my girlfriend and with individual close friends, but it boils down to that. One friend kept pestering me about it and I ended up dropping him as a friend, but my girlfriend was apologetic and most friends were either apologetic or said they'd drop it. I ended up writing a long email to my sister, and while I will not copy and paste the entire thing here as it contains a lot of personal information and far more horrible stuff that I am unsure will even be allowed on a sub like this, it more or less boiled down to me explaining to her how her refusal to take me in for what ended up being a few weeks made me feel, and I detailed a long list of things I had done to take care of her. I ended up finishing my email telling her that even if I take her version of the story as truth, and her husband is the cause of me not being allowed to stay, that it is entirely irrelevant to me, because that just means she didn't fight for me at all. I also informed her, I have no interest in meeting her child as of this moment, and I have no interest in reconnecting with her, and if that changes in the future, I will be the one to contact her. I told her to let this be a lesson to her, as it has been a painful lesson to me. Boiled down, I have decided to move on and keep the door on the tiniest of cracks. She has responded a lot since that moment. She seems unable to accept it, but I have not responded since. Again, thank you all for taking the time to respond to my post, and thank you all for your insightful replies. Wow, that's really rough. I can completely understand why OP feels betrayed and is ready to cut ties with his sister. After all the sacrifices he made, being rejected over something that would have been so simple for the sister must have been incredibly painful. And next, the second story. My wife, together 12, married 7, is leaving me for someone she has known 3 months. A slight preface. My wife and her brother were very close when young. He got very into alcohol, went to prison for 10 years, went immediately back to drinking, then died in front of her. My wife, aged 30, and I, 33, started going to the gym together. We were loving the results of the fitness. It made sex even better, and we couldn't keep our hands off each other. We felt as happy and close as ever. 3 weeks after her brother died, this guy chats her up at the gym and she immediately clicks with him. I was wary, but I trusted my wife. She is a sweetheart and never imagined her having the ability to have an affair. Last weekend, we had one of the most romantic days and evenings we have had in a while. This week, she decides that she cannot go on without finding out why she developed such a quick connection with this guy. We own a house and 3 pets. Her family and everyone we know are devastated and blown away, but she is dead serious. The woman I knew last month, last week even, has left the building. This is a living nightmare that I just want to wake up from. We did couples counseling 3 times and have one schedule on Wednesday, but she has completely made up her mind and seems to have rapidly fell out of love with me. My life as I had known it is over. I just needed to get this all off my chest. And the update. I had a kind Redditor reach out to me over the weekend asking how I was doing regarding the above situation. The original post got a lot of attention, so I figured I would give an update. My wife filed for divorce a month after moving out. During this time, I did the whole online dating thing, which was way worse than I could have ever expected. Kept myself busy working out, building my own confidence, hanging out with friends. In general, it was horrible, but I was trying to keep my head up. I was in therapy, didn't jive with my first therapist, found a new one in December who I liked a lot more and am still seeing her. Mid-December, my wife calls me, crying, asking if she can stay in the guest bedroom because she has nowhere to go. I say yes, even though she hurt me so badly, I did still love her. So things with Guy at the gym turned very toxic very fast. I know the word narcissist gets thrown around a lot these days. This guy, though, it's hard to believe these subhuman pieces of trash actually exist. So, she stays in the guest bedroom for a week, then goes and stays at her parents' for a month. She had a nervous breakdown and was able to get a medical leave of absence from her work. Mid-January comes around and she is back at the house, but still in a very frantic and erratic state, sort of like she was withdrawing off hard drugs. I had no idea about the addictive nature of toxic relationships. It's a psychological clusterfuck. She is clear that she is too effed up in the head to be in a relationship and is going to work on herself. I give her the time and space she requested. She goes all in on learning about the psychology of all of this shit. Inner child work, how the nervous system reacts and attracts you to toxic people if you grew up in a toxic household. Anxious and avoidant attachment styles. There is this book called How to Stay Married where the wife had an affair, and it turns out the root of the issue was her unresolved childhood trauma. Long story short, same thing happened here. It hurts, but I can forgive her. She is my best friend and we are insanely compatible in a lot of ways. She has really been returning to herself the past month. She is the happiest I have seen in her at least a year, and last week we filed the paperwork to dismiss the divorce. We are both in individual counseling and soon to start couples therapy. I am sure a lot of people will think I am making a mistake in reconciling, but I am happy. I do trust her that she now has the knowledge to not let this happen again, and she has the drive to become the best person she can be. Edit. I am reading all the comments and taking everything to heart. Even, and especially, the ones calling me stupid, chump, doormat. I completely understand where you are coming from. I just don't have time or desire to respond to so much. I want things to work out and do trust my gut that this was a one-time thing. I will post an update and take all of the I told you so if it comes to that. She only came back because her fling fell through. Don't say we didn't tell you so when she does it again with the next shiny thing that catches her eye. She gaslit the shit out of you. And the third story, my fiance told me that my parents are saying incredibly racist things to her when I am not around because they don't want black grandchildren. OP is 28 and his fiance 26. Now back to the story. I am writing this to figure out what to do or who to believe in this situation. Let me start out by saying that I am white, and my lovely fiance is a black woman. We have an amazing relationship and I don't want any other woman in my life. She is also the only black woman I have ever dated. My parents have always been supportive of me, and I have an incredibly strong family relationship with them and my siblings, or at least I thought. When I was growing up in the Midwest, there weren't really black people around and the topic of racism never came up really, but I never suspected that my lovely, outgoing, and polite parents would be racists, because they even donated money to an orphanage in Africa for like 20 years now through their church. My parents met my fiance a year ago, but did not take it too seriously because I had a lot of girlfriends in the past, and they probably just thought it was another girlfriend. Well, last weekend I announced to them that my girlfriend was now my fiance on a family Zoom meeting. My parents looked a little surprised because I did not discuss it with them before, but were ultimately congratulating me. We wanted to have dinner with them in person to sort of let them get to know their future daughter-in-law, and everything blew up. My mom forgot something for dinner, and my dad and I went to the store to get it. My fiance texted me about 10 minutes in, asking me to come back right away because she needed me, and my dad and I turned around. When I got back, she was sitting in my car, I still had the keys, and she was crying, asking me to take her to our house. Of course, I drove her home and told my parents I was sorry. And my fiance told me what my mom had said to her. Essentially, my fiance told me that my mom said she was not supportive of us because she didn't want black grandchildren. There were a number of things that surprised my fiance, like how she married up, even though I think my fiance is better looking than me. While I might be a bit more successful financially, well, I confronted my mom and asked what she said, and my mom said that she said nothing even close to that, and that the only thing she said was that she was curious what country my wife was ethnically from, and that my fiance mistook it. Well, I asked my fiance more probing questions, but she is adamant that my mom explicitly said these things. I've never known either of them to be liars, but the two people I trust most in this world are giving me completely conflicting stories. I want to side with my wife, but what if she is having some mental episode or something? Is it a possibility that no one is lying here? I need some effing help. And now to the update. Thank you to those of you who reached out with good suggestions and such. I really took everyone's advice on this. However, I really didn't think it was fair the way I was characterized in the comments. Because I love my fiance and I believe her, but I also loved my mom and had no reason to doubt her either. It's really hard to doubt your parents when they have always been good to you your entire life until this incident. Anyways, I was basically completely wrong about this whole situation. I decided to call my sisters, I told them it was an emergency, and we hopped on Zoom together. Well, I explained the crazy story to them, and one of them just let out a laugh but tried to hold it back. Then I went quiet and we had a few seconds of awkwardness until she let out, "Are you really asking this?" Then she told me, "Of course mom is racist," and my sisters agreed with her. Then they led me on a 30-minute rant about how mom would tell them not to marry outside their race, especially black people, because these marriages won't work out and no decent man would want you after. Apparently, she told them this regularly, and they all married white people anyways. The thing is that I am 9 years younger than the youngest of them, so I guess I was never included in these talks. She never once mentioned to me about race and who I should or shouldn't date. I don't know why I never received these messages. Moreover, I guess I'm just blind because they also told me I was the favorite child because I was the only boy. I assumed my parents paid for everyone's first car in college, but I guess it was just me. They were really mad at me for what I put my fiance through and not realizing things, but I feel like that's unfair, because how am I supposed to know they were mistreated compared to me if I was just a child when they were in college? I guess the close relationship I thought I had was just an illusion. I told my fiance that I was with her until I die, and I don't care if they all cut me off and that I am siding with her always. I should have done this from the beginning because she is really not the kind of person to call people racist, and I never knew her to be super political. After talking with my sisters, I hung up almost crying, which I normally don't do. But I went and told my fiance everything I had learned, and we just held each other for a while. She is not really mad at me, but just sad about the whole situation, and we talked a lot about whether to cut my parents out completely or not. I know for sure we will not let them around our future children. Also, my sisters called me back and told me they are sorry. They were so harsh to me, but I really hope I don't lose all my family from this. I also found out my dad has those internal Ring cameras, and I asked to see the videos from that day, but he told me they were already deleted or overridden, but I would really like to see it in person for closure. Overall, I'm sorry for the storm this caused here, but I decided to update just because I keep seeing alerts and messages from people. Maybe somebody will find this helpful. The classic, I'm not racist because I have a black friend. And that's it for today. Dear viewers, don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss out. See you next time. Bye-bye.